Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to this podcast episode. Today, I have a very special guest once again. Funnily enough, I always invite special guests to my podcast. How wonderful. But yeah, today I'm actually joined by Daniel Chen. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, Daniel. Very excited to have you. I would actually say that you are quite literally one of my biggest inspirations in the startup space, which is something I'm personally interested in. So I'm really grateful to have you here today. Can you tell a little bit about yourself, Daniel, to people who are listening? Who are you? What do you do? And stuff like this.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's great to be here, Gus. My name is Daniel. Hey, everyone. And I met Gus a year ago on X. And yeah, Gus got super great energy on X. He's like one of the most sincere people I've met on X. So we've been like chatting and talking to each other ever since. So a little bit about myself. I'm Daniel. I was born in Taiwan. I grew up here until I was 13 years old. Then I moved to the United States. Then I stayed. I've lived in different cities in United States for 15 years. I spent some time in Connecticut and spent around 4 years my high school time in Connecticut, and I moved to Seattle um,
Mm-hmm.
for around 6, 7 years. Then later I moved down to California, Berkeley, study at UC Berkeley for a couple years, and then I just worked at San Francisco until a couple years ago. Then I moved back to Taiwan 5 years ago. Yeah, right before COVID.
Whoa, and are you living in Taiwan right now? Or
Yeah, and now I live in Taiwan. Yeah,
whoa, that's amazing, man.
yeah. So I spend like half of my life in the West and half my life in the East. Yeah,
And which do you prefer?
so different. It's so different. I think it's just different life experiences. Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. And
definitely.
I also saw on your Twitter or your X that you were recently in Bali, if that was correct.
Oh yeah, I went there and for around 2 weeks last year as well.
Oh,
Are you there now?
was it last year?
Yeah, it was last
Oh
year.
no, I'm actually in the Netherlands right now. But
Oh, I see.
yeah, I thought yeah, that's cool. Was it the first time that you went to Bali?
Yeah, it was actually the first time. Yeah.
Oh, did you like it?
I love the local people there. I think I made it like I really enjoy meeting the people, but
Hmm.
generally I think the place is right now is a little bit overdeveloped. Um, it's just a little bit polluted and too much traffic, too many tourists.
Oh.
For me, I was looking for more of like a more peaceful vibe, and
Hmm.
that place for me is a little bit too touristy. Yeah.
God, yeah, I've heard similar stories actually about Bali. Haven't personally experienced it, so I won't make any conclusions. But that's good to know as well. By the way, I really like your bucket hat.
Thank
That's looks cool, man.
Yeah, thank
By the
you.
way, what does it say? Does it say something about life note on your bucket hat? Because I cannot read the
Oh
text.
no, I think it just
Oh,
says
little by
life.
little. Yeah, I see it, man. Does that
Yeah.
have any special meaning to you?
No, it's actually my fiance's hat. I just wear it.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess the first kind of main topic I would like to start off with is, of course, Life Note, because I think that it is a really good product. I personally don't use it, to be honest, but I do see a lot of people that truly see value in your product and probably use it daily, get a lot of inspiration out of it, and that made me really happy because kind of like sometimes you have these startup apps and there's a lot of them that are being created, being released, but they don't really seem to be that necessary for the user. So it's almost like, sure, this app is nice and sure, it adds benefit, but it's not like it's so amazing. Like when you read a review from someone, you can pretty quickly see if they're actually super happy with the product or it's just something that they are quite satisfied with. And I think with your product, the thing that really inspired me was that people seemed genuinely happier and um, the product seemed to have genuinely improved their life for the better. And that is a very powerful thing to do, because if you are able to do that as an entrepreneur, you can make a lot of money, have a lot of success, and make a lot of impact. Depends on like what your goals are, of course. So I'm very curious, Daniel. Can you tell me a little bit about how LiveNote started?
Yeah, definitely. So I am 34 years old now. I started LiveNote when I was 33 years old. Like at the
Mm.
time, um, I quit my last job at the startup. So my last job, I used to work at a fintech startup, but I just didn't enjoy it that much. So I was looking for my next big major life purpose, right? I was looking for a
Mm-hmm.
really deep purpose. So I kind of I quit my job. I have no plan. I have no plans. I just like started meditating at my place. You know,
Wow.
I've been meditating for a decade now. It's a habit I picked up in around 2014. So and in the last 5 years, I've been to Vipassana twice. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's a silence retreat. It's a worldwide organization. They teach you how to meditate. You have to be at a retreat center for 10 days, and you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to listen to music. You're not allowed to do anything, and you're just sitting there and meditating every day for 10 hours. Like
Wow.
you meditate for an hour, you take a 10 minutes break, and you go back and meditate. And you start every day at 4 a.m. and you finish around 9 a.m. So so what I'm trying to get at is meditation changed my whole lifestyle. It changed me as a person. It changed how I relate to the world, how I relate to human being. Like, so I think it's the best thing there is. You know, like just Buddha, you know, or it doesn't matter, Buddha or Jesus, they see they're trying to help people because they see people are suffering, right? And you know, I've been in the technology sector for 10 years, and I know tech is really great and cool and creates a lot of wealth and helps a lot of people. But for me, that is all external. For me, my personal quest was how can I combine the two? How can I combine the benefits that I've gotten from meditation, from my spiritual exploration with technology? So that's the question that got me started. And it's also something not a lot of people are trying to explore the intersection between spirituality and technology. But it's something that I've been really passionate about for quite a while in my life. So so coming back, so like I quit my job, didn't know what I want to do. I just started meditating every day, and then I founded a company that's called Spiritual Human. That's actually the name before Life Note, and actually, I
Hmm.
think that's the name that when you first got to know me,
I
it
remember,
was called.
yeah.
Yeah,
Spiritual
so
human.
that yeah, Spiritual Human, it embodies the brand. I think people should be spiritual. You know, it's all about spirituality and energy, and I know you know it, Gus. It's all in your tweets. I can see that. You're one of the few people who get it. That's the most fundamental life energy. You know, like if you get down to you become self-aware of yourself. You take control of your life, or you're not taking control of anything, but you're just flow with everything, right?
Hmm.
And life just becomes better. But anyway, yeah. So but then, like, you know, like, but I wanted to build a tool that help people become more self-aware, or I want to build a tool that help myself. That is actually a tool that I use myself to align your inner purpose with the external world and with the creative actions that a human being participates in every day. So that's kind of how, like, in the initial abstract concept of life note get started. It was really vague. It was really vague. Yeah, but that was around like the first 2 months. I just had this like very vague concept, and I just started building out a lot of MVPs. Do you
Hmm.
want me to come to the story, or you have any questions? Feel free to stop.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what was the first version like? What were the functions? What did it do? Like,
Yeah, so the first version is actually super ugly or super unusable. This first version was that was crazy. I spent like a few months just building like this thing called Life Calendar. It was actually inspired by Tim Urban. Tim Urban is like a really famous writer. He's frequently shared by Elon Musk and other people. Like he's pretty. A
is
lot
that
of people know.
the author of Wait But Why? Is that Tim Urban?
Yes, yes. Wait,
Oh
but
yeah,
why?
he's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so he has this like TED talk and he talks about this life calendar. It's like this 52 by 90 like calendar where you have like 52 like cell blocks on every row represents that we have 52 weeks a year and that we have around like 90 years to live. So it's like a visual life calendar. It just shows you that our life is really short,
Hmm.
right? So initially, I was inspired by that visual concept. It was, and at the time, Apple Vision Pro was just came out. So I was thinking about building something for Apple Vision Pro. It's just building like a life operating system where you can easily see where you are at in your life, and you can easily compare where your life stage with the people that you admire. For example, like Warren Buffett, he became a millionaire when he take a guess. Take a guess of when Warren Buffett became a millionaire.
Oh, I think I've heard this one, but I don't quite remember. When did he become a millionaire? I guess like, 33.
So good, so good. I think you're right. I think it was either 32 or 33. I don't remember the exact number.
Well, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, so it was like in the 33 was like maybe it was like in June or May he actually became millionaire. So when I knew that,
Wow.
it was really encouraging, right? So it's like, hey, you don't have to be a millionaire that early. Even Warren Buffett didn't make it until he's like 33. And he's like
Yeah, and I would say even then for his time that's like very early because I guess like the people from his time became millionaires at like maybe 60 or 70 because they saved up a bunch of money,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's like with this lifelong calendar, you can learn from the greatest minds and the greatest people in every industries. So initially, that was kind of the concept of the life note or like the life operating system. It just helps you make the best decision that align with your heart. And
Wow.
so then, yeah, yeah. And then and then the MVP, I built the MVP and I released it, but not a lot of people like some people loved it, but it was such a niche product because it was just a very complicated user interface. So, but people loved people. What people love about it is what they love actually love journaling with the great minds or like the
Hmm.
mentors. That's what I call it, the mentors. Um, we have like Steve Jobs, we have like Warren Buffett, we have Richard Feynman, we have 1,000. Right now, Life Note offers 1,000 like the greatest thinkers in human history, where you can
Wow,
journal.
that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and people really love like talking to them and journaling with them, and people respond like really emotionally. Like right now, our oldest user is around 10-month old, and she's like still constantly talking to the mentors and journaling, uh, for to have a healthier and better like family relationships and sorts.
She has been
Like
using LifeNote for 10 months.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive, man. Since you started it. That's really good.
Definitely, yeah. So it kind of evolved with this live operating system, but now it's just a kind of like an AI powered journaling tool or like an AI mentor tool where people you can just like you can download the app and just write down how you feel and this is what I call it. You turn your thoughts into wisdom. Like this is Buddha. Buddha has a saying: all your afflictions. Every day we have around 60,000 thoughts, um, and more, you know, and we have a lot of noises in our mind. The Buddha is that all our thoughts are, if you look at the other side, it's just wisdom. It's personalized wisdom that you can pick up from the fruit of the tree, you know.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like the value proposition right now, like and what users enjoy about Life Note. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I really think that you have put down a great product, and I'm very curious, like, because from my understanding, it uses AI, and you have like 1,000 people that you currently can kind of use to journal with or journal to. How does it work? Like, how does, for example, Steve Jobs give like a response according to Steve Jobs' personality in response to what you journal about?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so it's it's a lot of data, you know, data scraping, a
Hmm.
lot of rag, the rag to make sure that the system always delivers the most relevant or the most personalized prompts or data or like user history or the memories of the users, or the part of the relationship that is important to the user between the mentors and the users. It's called, I use RAG for that, and we also do a lot of I also do a lot of experimentation with prompt engineering. A lot of experimenting with prompt engineering, and then we use different models. Like we use different OpenAI models, cloud model, different and mix and match to make sure that we deliver the best like mentor responses with combination of all of this.
Oh, you actually combine OpenAI models and like cloud, for example.
Yeah, 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 definitely. They're good at
Whoa.
different. Yeah.
And how do you use them for the same like function? So, without getting too technical, what I mean is like, do you use these AI models just for making up these prompts, or like generating these responses from the mentors, the greatest minds?
Yeah, we use them for generating the responses.
Gotcha. And was that
Life Note
technically
is, yeah.
difficult to figure out, like how to actually make it seem, or like I don't know, like create these greatest minds with AI?
Yeah, at first I didn't think it would be. It's not. I don't think it's difficult. It's about how you craft, how you combine all this like great technologies that we have right now with all these fundamental models with really
Hmm.
good product design and with really good UX design, and also you have to consider the whole emotional journey of the user of why they want to journal. You know, when people are journaling for a lot of different reasons right now, like some people are journaling because they've just lost someone who's really important to them. You know, some people are journaling when they're really vulnerable, when they're actually in a state of pain that is just, you know, very disastrous. You know, I think technology is right now, I would say, like, technically it's challenging because, but it's not difficult. Yeah, it's challenging in a sense that we have to combine all the design and all this different layers of technologies together to deliver really great experiences. But yeah, yeah, but it's not difficult in terms of like I'm not revolutionizing a new AI model. I'm not delivering. I'm not like Sam Altman, right? I'm not like those people. I'm not doing hardcore R&D. I am trying to innovate on or I'm trying to make the most create the most value out of the technology they have delivered to the world. Yeah.
Wow, man. I think that's amazing. I think partially that's also what they would want. Like, obviously, they have created this great technology, and what is the use in it if other people cannot create great things from it? That's like the same with like the app store. Like it was built so people can like create more amazing apps and people can have great experiences. So that's amazing, man. And also one thing which I want to touch on is this intersection between spirituality and technology, because I think this is something that's very interesting too, particularly when creating. So I don't know how you do this, of course, but I have created like some hobby projects in the past. I'm actually starting up a project again, and what I find myself doing is kind of like wanting to make something creative. So really like almost use my heart to create, like express myself creatively. But then also I want to create an app. So like how have you combined these two things in the process of creating LiveNote? How have you combined the spiritual, the awareness, the creative energy basically, like the actual creative part, something that didn't exist but you can create yourself? How did you combine that with coding, with technology? Because it's like obviously very technical, very like abstract. So how did you combine those two in your creation?
Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I understand you correctly. Is how do I combine my creative energies with some more like hardcore skills, or like or like coding, or like just like all this acts that might seem not as creative? Is that what you
Exactly that.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of time when I've been coding this past year, a lot of time I feel like I feel like I'm like a sculptor, like chiseling at the stone, or
Ooh.
like I'm the gardener. I'm a gardener who's just taking care of the gardens. I think it's just very very similar, or it's all the dirty works itself. The act itself is so boring. But right now with AI, it's so much better, right? AI can take care of can take care of a lot of the boring stuff. I think without AI, I'll just be bored to death if I right. But right now with AI, I can finally focus more on the higher level creative part. But it's true. A lot of time I'm still like heads down on the very technical parts of the work. But it's I think it's to find continuously. I think the challenge is to not burn myself out. It's first you have a really creative idea, right? And you want to make it happen in the shortest amount of time, that so you're not burned out. You're not burned out, but you're still challenged throughout the process, right? Because you want your skills to grow, you want your technical skills to grow, so you can deliver something more creative in the future with faster, with higher quality. A skill is something that I still want to get better at. Those boring kind of skills. The faster I'm better at this kind of boring skills, the more I can focus on the creative parts.
Can you give an example of such a skill?
I think skill is just like, right now you want to create an app, right? You have to code up the front end. You have to code up the back end. I'm just talking about this kind of basic skills. You have to set up a server. You have to you have to you have to make sure like your server is up and running, and make sure you're responding to all the user requests. All this like kind of operational stuff. That's kind of like just the skills. You want to be good at it so you can be operating at an intuitive level. Your energy is not wasted when you're operating, with this kind of operational task. Yeah.
It's kind of like a habit at that point that you just know what to do. Like you just create the app. It's just like for example, a node command for people who for this maybe too technical. You just have these commands that you can type in your command prompt, and it just creates, for example, a front end, a back end. You mean like that? So it just becomes habitual.
yeah, it takes out the most energy when you're doing it for the first few times because you're learning about it.
Mm.
You're finding that steep learning curve, right? I think your prefrontal like cortex is running a lot of like, energy. But after that, once you make those all this like tasks into a habit, then you give you give yourself a lot more room to focus on something that's more creative. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's something I was really interested in myself, and it makes a lot of sense. Like if you kind of go through those initial periods where you have to figure it out a little bit technically, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, when you actually do, it's kind of like the energy is freed up, and then you can use it towards the creation process. That's a really valuable tip, man. Thank you so much for that one. And you also turned it into an app actually recently.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you use to create that? What kind of frameworks or?
Yeah, I use Expo and React Native, which I really recommend.
Ah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, you only use it, and you can push the code to you can push the apps to both platforms, iOS and Google Play, with just one code base. And yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Thank you, man.
and just yeah, it's and all my mobile code base is sitting together with together with my web app, which what we call this is the mono repo. It's just one giant repo where you have the mobile code and you have the web code. It's making more sense right now because of AI, because of all this like cursor and windsurf. Um, it's when your code is more centralized, it's easier for AI to deal with. That's something I think that's something that changed because of AI. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about Cursor Windsurf? What are those?
Oh yeah, they're just code editor. So they're AI like assisted code editor where you kind of have this co-pilot of AI agents that kind of just you just give it commands and it will just like write the codes for you. Yeah.
Wow, I've actually used something similar myself with VS Code, Visual Studio Code. And that's really amazing because you could just like literally write like code this button or something and then press enter and it just creates a button. It's like you almost don't even need to know specifically how to code, although it does definitely help in the process,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. I think Cursor and Windsurf are very similar to VS Code and Pilot, but they're just better. Yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome. So, yeah, Daniel, you've pretty much told me at the beginning that you started doing a fintech job at first. Then you kind of quit that, just went all in on the meditation before you started LiveNote. And then you kind of created it first as Spiritual Human. Then it turned into LiveNote. What does the future of LiveNote look like?
Yeah, I think with year one, we've built a small but a really great community. That I think we built a small core and loyal community where people are really enjoying journaling and learning with all these great minds. So right now I'm just like focusing on delivering everything that users been asking for, um, which means I think in this year the product experience is gonna be 5 to 10 times better, and by that I mean that the whole mentor journaling with mentor experience is just could be so much better, and how I'm planning to do that is like I'm gonna build out this. I call this the mentor core memories, where I'm not sure if you've seen a Pixar movie. It's called there's a Pixar movie about human emotions. Have you
Oh,
ever
yeah,
seen it?
the Inside Out, I think.
Inside Out, and
Yeah.
you know like how when like the little kids, the little girls that are talking to others in the movies, they always have a lot of things that's going on in her brain, a lot of like memories management and emotional management. I'm very inspired by that, and I want to. I think the core the core to a very self-aware person is to be very self-aware of your emotions, right? And very self-aware of your situations. So being able to identify your emotion will lead you to next step. The natural next step is to how to better counter or react, or to understand what's the best course of action taken that needs to be taken in response to the emotions that you're feeling. So like I want to build out the memories, the mentor and the memory system in a way that will identify the most important things in a user's life, like like their core values. That's something I've been designing recently. I want to build out a value exploration system where a user can understand their core values better, and then
Wow.
yeah, and core values, and how their core values associates with their life events, and how their core value associate with the most important people and different topics in their life, and how those things relate to their emotions. So, and once the mentors have a more structured understanding of the users, which is the ontology of all the things I just mentioned, their preferences, their likes and dislikes, and the mentor will be better at guiding the users in their self
Whoa.
actualizing and self awareness journey. Yeah. So one thing I think is really cool is like you think you're talking to AI mentors, but in fact, you're actually talking to yourself. It's a mirror, right? it's a mirror that it's it's a mirror that helps you see that your reality truthfully. I don't want to create a system that kind of is like a yes man system that will just trying to make you feel good. I think a lot of people are trying to design the product like that. Just always be overly supportive. But I want to create a system that can guide you gracefully. Help you see the blind spots, because resistance and the pain that we feel, emotional pain that we feel, and reflections are what contributes to progress, to personal growth. So I think I want to build out like the mentor system that embody the value that I just kind of mentioned.
Wow, that's really awesome, man. So, from my understanding, you're basically just kind of making the mentors learn so much about the person that it's almost like you have almost a reflection of yourself, but then, for example, visualized as Steve Jobs. So it's almost like Steve Jobs is trained on your emotions, is trained on your belief systems, your values, and is able to steer you in the right direction because of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I call this is timely and timeless advice. It doesn't necessarily have to be Steve Jobs. It could be anyone. I want to channel the timeless wisdom to you at the most timely stage of your life. You maybe at this stage of your life, Goss, you might need Warren Buffett's the wisdom, or you might need Charlie Munger's wisdom. But I want to personalize in that experiences for you.
Well, and how does it work with the mentor? So do people or do users of LiveNote select their own mentors, or are they assigned mentors based on their problems or based on their journal prompts?
Yeah, definitely. So I think they can follow their mentors, that they can just pick their own mentors and journal and talk
Uh-huh.
to. We also have this recommendation system where they don't have to think about who to talk to. They just focus on their feelings and focus on their troubles. And then we will recommend the most suitable and most qualified mentors for that specific thing that the user is dealing with. If they're dealing with courage, we might recommend Adler, which is a very renowned psychologist who's studying the courage to be disliked for the book, the famous book, Courage to be Disliked. Yeah, yeah. So we want to make recommendations for the most suitable mentors. Yeah.
That is awesome, man. Like, I see so much excitement as well in the way that you talk about this. It's really good to kind of get a sense of that. And I'm also curious, Daniel, business wise, like, because the idea is great. I think you're inspiring a lot of people. A lot of people are seeing great benefits from this product. I think it's a good product. But what about the business side? What are like the business ambitions you have? Is this something that you want to continue working on yourself? Is it something that you're looking to maybe scale and sell eventually? Or is that not on the table at all? What's inside of the business mind of Daniel?
Yeah, I think right now the goal is to create a really, really great product, and have that product being able to support my life. The whole project is all self-funded, and it's only everything's done by one person, which is me, which kind of lower the cost and make the cost more controllable. But I'm definitely trying to. The goal of this year is to have the product and the business itself to be sustainable, so I can grow it, and yeah, I'm also considering later down. I actually have a co-founder, like have a potential co-founder now, and we're applying for YC. But if we
Wow.
yeah, and if we don't get in, that's fine, and we'll I think we're getting early tractions. So every month for the last 4 or 5 months, the paying subscribers and everything is just being we're hitting record month every month for the last 4 or 5 months, and and it's still not right now. It still cannot support my life, but I still need to grow it. But you know how startup grow just non-linearly, right? But we're seeing some really good early tractions. But the
Wow.
goal
And do you
this
mean
year,
in terms of users?
yeah. In terms of users, subscribers, and revenue, we're being hitting record numbers in the past month, and it's been great to see that people are paying for it and getting value out of it.
Yeah, because I did see on your site that you do have a free plan as well. By the way, for anyone that wants to check out LiveNote, I'm sure to going to put a link in the show notes of the podcast as well as on the video on YouTube, depending on where you're watching this. But yeah, why did you decide to also include a free option? Because like I know some people in the startup space that are like, we just make it paid, and then even if it's like a low amount, it's also having to be paid. So what kind of undermined your decisions for pricing of LiveNote?
I think a lot of paid only, like product that with only paid only options are mostly B2C product. I think for consumer product, it's just most of the consumers' expectations, like they at least want to try it out for a while, and I do at one point have a paid only option, but I evaluate the cost. It's fine just to have more people try it out, and I give them around like 12 free journal entries right now, so it really doesn't cost me that much for them to try it out. And if they love it, they will continue. They will actually pay for it. If you don't love it, they tell me why, so it's I think having a limited free option is fine. Right now, the free plan is not they can use it forever. It's more like they have like a certain credits, limited credits.
Oh, okay. And it doesn't like renew or something.
Yeah, it doesn't renew. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that is actually a great idea.
Yeah. Some cool things about Life No. Some really cool user stories that happened recently. I would love to share with you if
Yeah,
you
for
don't
sure.
mind.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. So when I first created Life No, I don't know how people are gonna use it, because it's such a new concept. But in the last few weeks, I've been seeing a lot of different use cases that people are using Life Note differently. only I think two couple weeks ago, I have a new paying customers, and he is this. I think he's around 60 years old, 50, 60 years old, and he's been a filmmaker at National Geographic for like a long time. He's been doing like documentary films for 40 plus 45 years. And he recently discovered LifeNote and paid for it, and he's kind of like writing a book using LifeNote. And
Whoa.
yeah, so he's talking to a lot of like other great directors or like film producers at LifeNote, and he called this like actively inspiring sections that where he can discuss a lot of like his own like filming documentary film careers. He can he can talk about a lot of like a very specific domain like film like concepts, and allows him to feel very inspired and feel very creative, and it allows him to make more progress on his book writing. So that's one really cool thing that I didn't know that you can use it Life Note for. Yeah, and the other really cool use case is a more obvious one, but I've been working really closely with this also a paying customers. His name is Sergio, and he is a therapist in Oakland from United States, and he's been using LifeNote for journaling, and he's been recommending LifeNote to all his clients in his therapy sessions, and he like it's really cool. Like he told me that LifeNote is he's been looking at the whole market with this different AI journaling tools, but he found LifeNote to be the most fun. He had the most fun like journaling with LifeNote, and that's why he's continuing to use it, and he's paying for it, and he's like recommended to all his like clients. And yeah, he's got a super cool background because he's actually the most spiritual therapist I've met. Like he's been trained in India by Osho and by a lot of like I think Indian gurus, and he's also been trained in Mexico for their like spiritual like therapy like traditional like techniques. And then he also got a doctor in therapy in therapy, and so he's had like 18 years of like psychedelic assisted therapy, like an MDMA assisted therapy experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I think he's like the most ideal candidate that I would love to work with. Yeah, and then because he's at this like intersection of spirituality, science, and journaling and all this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like an ideal customer, man. I would keep him there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I just want to share this like some cool like customer stories that just happened recently. I have way more, but I just want to share a few.
For sure, man. I feel like that also inspires me because like at the end of the day, with a business, you can make money, you can even get results, but really like having people that actually use the product and recommend it to others, that's like, it's always like the, how do you call it, like the business heaven. You know what I mean? Like you just make a product that sells itself. Well, actually, I did have a question about that, Daniel, because how did these two guys discover LifeNote? Like, do you use any advertising method specifically, or did they just come to it via recommendation?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very crazy. I didn't pay for anything. I didn't do any performance marketing, pay marketing as of now. And all these people discover LifeNote through friends or friends, word of mouth, or through like, Google, or just through ChatGPT. They just like type up like AI therapy or AI like journaling, and they found out about LifeNote.
Well, does it come up if you do that?
I think so. Like according to some of
Wow.
the users, if it doesn't come up on the top search, but like if you like ask for more recommendation, I think LifeNote comes up because it was listed at I think one of the biggest AI directory. There's an AI for that last year. It was number two in the journaling category for a while. I think right now it's probably number three or four. So right now it's ranked as the top two, top three journaling tool on I think the world's biggest AI directory.
Bro, you should put that on your landing page. Because that always looks good. It's like number one or number
Oh
two
yeah,
on
yeah,
this side. That's always good social proof.
yeah, yeah. I need to be better at marketing, man.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I am personally quite interested in the startup space as well, and I think the main thing that stood out to me as well that you mentioned earlier is that it evolved. So it didn't start out being like what it is today. Do you maybe have some other lessons or insights you've learned from building LiveNote so far or building a startup so far that you would like to share to anyone who is maybe getting started?
Uh, well, uh, I think for me it's hard to give advice to people, but for me the biggest lesson I've learned is, I mean, number one is it's so difficult. It's probably the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, and I wish I've done it earlier in my life, because it's just when you're younger, it's just easier to try to tackle difficult things, and by taking calculated risk, um, but by taking calculated risk, but tackle creative and ambitious, difficult projects. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's something that everyone should try. Um, um, it's you need to make sure to everyone's life situation is so different. So, but creativity requires a lot of patience and time. It's just when you're focused on money and success and like fame, it's you get so impatient, and you it's so easy to lose the joy of the
Mm-hmm.
creative task itself. So I think one thing I did well was just I created a lot of financial buffer that allow me to immerse myself in the creative task itself, and
Mm-hmm.
and to create something that doesn't focus on money, but create something that focuses on joy, or create something that can bring deep emotional value, and with a patience of month of nobody cares about what you make, or maybe even like a year of people doesn't even care, or the feeling that people can easily just like like turn turn on your back, um, like you have to deal with all those fear. But I think believing yourself, the having the ability to believe yourself is something that you can only learn by tackling very difficult creative tasks early on, as early as possible. So create that environment for yourself, create that buffer for yourself that you will be able to fail and fail and fail and still survive and become stronger, creatively or financially. I think it's so important, and yeah, and I think it requires both rational mind and creative mind. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm not
So a
sure.
good mix of both, you would say.
I'm not sure if I make sense, Gus.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I also wrote some of the points down you made because I think that you are sharing a lot of wisdom here, not just about like life in general, about like allowing for creativity almost, because this is something which I was recently thinking about. It's like when you are kind of feeling pressure about, I don't know, making money and making a living and having housing, for example, it almost feels like you are creating from a position of rush and it doesn't allow for that creative energy to come out, because like the creative energy for me personally comes out best if I'm relaxed, if I'm kind of free of these pressures.
Yeah.
So I think that you shared a really valuable point. And by the way, the financial buffer, did that come from the job you were first at that you quit?
Yeah, definitely. From my career, just by saving, by investing, like I was able to create some buffers that allow me to, to just try things.
Gotcha. That's really cool, man. Well, you told me previously about applying for YC with a co-founder. Can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about your intention behind that, or your motivation? Like, why did you decide to potentially seek out a co-founder, and then also why apply for YC? By the way, for people that don't know YC, I think it's called Y Combinator Startup or something. It's like a company that I believe assists startups and also allows you to find co-founders. So if you're interested, you can check it out. But yeah, Daniel,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think one thing I kind of promised myself is, we do this for when you're doing something creative, you're doing something very vulnerable, right? You're being very vulnerable, and but you do it because you want to be courageous. You don't want to live in fear. You want to be inspiring, and you want to be inspiring only because, and the only way to be inspiring is to be honest, right? So I'm trying to be very honest. Is just to, like, I want to create something that can exhaust my full potential, and in order to do that, I have to enjoy every moment of it, and I have to feel like I'm playing. And so I think the reason to apply to YC and the reason to find a co-founder, actually, co-founder is one of my best friend. He's one of my best friend. I met him at UC Berkeley grad school, and he's a very creative person, and I really admire him. So I really look forward to working with him, and I think so. Applying to YC just so we can work together and have fun. I think
Wow.
the only reason is just we want to have fun, and second, I mean, and the secondary reason is because YC offers great advice, great resources, and I really learned a lot of people from YC program. I think he's just full of wisdom. Yeah.
Gotcha. And what do they actually do? Because you said you applied for YC. What does that mean? Like, do they have to, like, yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah, I think YC is, I think they're like a pre-seed incubator, which means you can apply just by having a team and ideas. So you just fill out application. It takes around a day, and you record a video of you and your friends or your co-founders about what you explain in 1 minute what your idea is and why it's gonna be a successful idea that can that is something that people want. It's their slogan, right? Make something people love or make something people want, and why a lot of people want it and why you can build it. Yeah, so and YC will, when they decide to fund you, they will just give you a 500K check, and you just get the money, and then you go and then you travel to San Francisco for 3 months to participate in their programs and just build out the products, and yeah, and they help you scale your company. They give you great advice to make your product and company better, so you can serve more people.
They give you a check of $500,000.
Yeah, in exchange of 7% of your equity. Yeah,
Oh, is that forever, by the way?
forever. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Well, that's pretty cool, man. I feel like YC is definitely a good platform. So if you can get through, man, that's awesome. That should be very, very exciting. Yeah, Daniel, I guess we're about 55 minutes in. As a kind of final wrap up, so to say. Let me think of an interesting question to potentially ask you.
Yeah, I think you're being a really great podcast host. You've been asking a lot of open-ended questions. I hope I didn't ramble and just like talk too much.
Oh, thank you so much, Daniel. No, definitely. I really love listening to you. And I actually took a lot of notes also for myself because I'm starting a project as well. Just kind of seeing like what kind of tips you gave, what advice you gave, not just listening to you and trying to record a good podcast, but really trying to learn from you. I think that's one of the main goals I have with this podcast as well, is learning from people. That's maybe an interesting question to ask you, Daniel. What are some of the people that you have learned from whilst building your startup?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is. I think the few people that have been really impactful for my life. I mean, number one is Steve Jobs. He totally changed my life, and I think he's one of the main reason that I'm building LifeNote. So yeah, so he actually mentioned about the product idea when he was alive. He mentioned about how he if one day we have artificial intelligence uh, available to the general public, he would want to talk to Aristotle and learn from Aristotle. So there's a really famous video of Steve Jobs talking about how much he wants this tool. So he's actually the main reason that I'm building this, because Steve Jobs wants it, and on top of that, I'm just like, Steve Jobs totally changed my life. I think the whole reason I went on to meditate and to explore all the spirituality is because of I read Steve Jobs' biography in 2014, and you know how Zen Buddhism changed his life. So at the time, when I was reading that book, I was crying. You know, I was just like so touched by everything that he does. I think especially by how he changed the music industry. He was fighting really, really hard for 2 years to release the 99 cents singles music on iTunes, and no one believed in him. But he was like, but he persisted, and he finally launched the product, and then he changed the music industry forever, and he was such a successful product launch. But anyway, how he sees life and how he approach technology impacts me, because at the time his goal was to marry humanity with technology, right? He famously said that only through marrying technology and humanity, and then we can only yield the results that make the human heart sing. So he I think he said it multiple times. Even right now, Tim Cook is saying it. So at the time, when we have Apple and Microsoft, every other tech giants is developing product without infusion of humanity. Only Steve Jobs was making the GUI and like the UX of using a computer very personalized and very easy for even your mom and grandmother and your kids. And he has all these beautiful fonts on the computer, and that's everything he was focusing on, was infusing humanity into a computer. And I think it impacts the world we live in today. And right now, I don't see anyone doing that in the world of AI. AI, how does AI relate to human consciousness? How does AI relate to human spirituality? How does AI relate to self-awareness? How does AI amplify our higher being instead of feeding on our ego? It would be super dangerous if people create an AI that just feed on your ego and amplify your ego instead of amplify your high-end being. So I mean, but spirituality, spiritual is a very mystical field, right? But I think it's very scientific. But anyway, but Steve Jobs has a huge impact on my life, and I ever since 2014 I read all the books that Steve Jobs read, and I did all the jokes that he did. You know, I went out a life path that was very influenced by him, and that's why I was practicing a lot of Zen Buddhism, and I got very deep into Vipassana, and I was reading a lot of Bibles last few years too, and I was reading a lot of Indian Sanskrits as well, trying to learn from all this spiritual ancient wisdom. But the hardest part is to merge it with technology, because I feel like what I'm doing like is still a minority in the AI space. The AI space, everyone is so focused on something else. But I believe in what I do.
Well, I feel like you're so aligned with this product, man. I see so many connections. You're so excited speaking about it. This is going to be a success regardless, man. I'm 100% sure of it, Daniel. I would like to thank you very much for coming on today. It was an amazing podcast. I really learned a lot from you. I got a lot of excitement from you just about hearing you speak about your product, about your inspirations, and all of this. So I will actually link LiveNote in the description of this podcast for any of you who are interested. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on. Thank you for listening. I'll put all of the links in the show notes, as well as the links for my own website, my own socials. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next podcast.